canvas out white background so we can see a little better. We'll click on this brush icon. You can see that it says Get Brush, and what that does is it opens up the visor. And the visor is really useful for learning the types of brushes that can be created with PaintFX. There's hundreds of examples in here, and we'll talk about the attributes in a little bit, but you can see the different categories from airbrush, so typical paint type strokes, to something that's not anything like paint, which is fire. There is odd things like hairy arm flesh, and you can see again the 2.5D version of the PaintFX panel. Flowers, things like food, really odd kind of things. There's pretzels, there's pretzel sticks, and we've looked at the Galaxy brush. There's lots of different types of glass. We've got metals, so I really like the razor wire brush. There's objects, chess pieces, paper, so things like confetti are really useful in some cases. Different types of fiber for creating textures. There's plants, so things like ivy and oddly enough flowering peas. There's tune outlines, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but this is really these are some really useful things for any kind of, again, textures and sort of graphic treatments. There's some background trees. In this case, those are really large. These are actually textured trees that are placed on cards. There's portions of trees. So in this case, we've just got some branches that would be useful for coming off of a larger portion of a brush. There's odd things like underwater type brushes, starfish, and you can see that these are, the way these are oriented are sort of sideways to the camera. I'll show you a way of controlling that in a little bit. Sea anemones, and then of course the wet on wet, which I showed you earlier, which are more of a texturing type effect. So that is just a quick overview of the types of things that you can get out of PaintFX. Keep in mind that all of these are driven by the exact same set of attributes, which we're going to go over next, at least right after we talk about the components or the underlying pieces that make up a PaintFX stroke.